Um, you're very welcome to this first of a new series of webinars for Fintech Ireland. And in this particular one, we are going to discuss what is going on in the fintech ecosystem. Please forgive us, forgive me in particular, if for some reason the technology fails us. It is the first time we're doing it. There's also a lot of pressure on broadband, as you would expect at the moment. However, I do have a test computer open over here, which I won't show you, and it looks like that we are broadcasting live. So if anybody's having any problems at all with seeing this broadcast, or indeed if you are watching it and you just want to confirm that you can see us, I'd ask one or two volunteers out there to send an email, if you wouldn't mind, to Ruth. And her email address is Ruth, R-U-T-H, at Peter Oakes, that's PETEROAKES.com. So if you are watching, if you wouldn't mind just sending Ruth at peteroakes.com an email just to confirm that you can see the video if you have any problems, because we don't have an interactive session here with all of you. First of all, listen, thanks very much. I'm looking at the participant numbers rocketing up. Over 175 people registered for today's event. We're delighted with that, obviously. We get around about 80 people at the events we hold face-to-face. So we're up more than double by doing it via the internet. And even up until this morning, because we had the cut-off time last night at 10 o'clock, people into the event, I've had folk emailing us all this morning looking for the link who only came across the event on Eventbrite. So up until about 11 o'clock, I was sending out the hyperlinks, but then unfortunately we got too busy. So we're rapidly approaching 75 now on the webinar. As I said, look, this particular webinar is all focused on the Fintech Ireland map. Now, before I jump into that and discuss what's going on, the first thing is that we've managed to get most of the logos that came in the last week onto the map. There'll be one or two which won't be on the map just yet, and that is predominantly because for some reason there was an issue with the way the logo was uploaded during the course of the survey. However, when we show you the map today, don't fret, because this afternoon we will publish the fuller map. We'll publish the fuller map. So I was just getting a thumbs up that people can hear us. And thank you to those who did that email. We'll be publishing the Fintech Ireland map for 2020 on Fintech Ireland. All those folk here on this call will get an email confirming that the map has been released. So before I kick off with going into the map and what we're and into Mags and to Tommy, let me just sort of explain the way we're going to proceed. It's now 5 minutes past 1. There'll be still some people, as I said, logging on to their systems and registering through Eventbrite. So I hope that still is working for everybody. Now, I'll talk for a little bit here in the introduction, and then I'm going to move to do an introduction to both Tommy and Margaret. I call her Mags, so forgive me if I say Mags during the course of the call. I will try and stay proper and call you Margaret. And Tommy, well, you know, we can call you anything, I hope. So Tommy and Mags will do an introduction about their businesses. And for those who've been reading the information, you'll know that Tommy is CEO and co-founder of Extreme Push, and Margaret Clancy is Commercial Director of TransferMate. Now, both companies are true successful Indigenous Irish fintech companies, and that is the reason why we wanted to reach out to both of them today for the start of the new Fintech Ireland map, because we thought we might just talk a little bit around payments and what's been going on in payments in the last while. Obviously, Margaret will discuss her own business, but it's very much payments driven. And Tommy wants to talk about the experience, the user experience, and all the work he's been doing in that area, and also with payments. And both Tommy and Mags not only have a lot of fintech experience, they've also got a lot of experience in dealing with the banks out there, so the large incumbents in terms of collaborating and partnering. So listen, I'm going to stop there, and I may have done that introduction, but I'm just going to turn over to Margaret. And Margaret, if you just give a brief introduction on who you are and what Transformate's up to, and maybe a couple of things that you might want to talk about at the moment in short order, which we'll then pick up in the Q&A session, which will start around about 1:30, 1:35.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Humbled to join the group today and delighted to be asked to speak on behalf of Transformate. So a brief intro on myself. I joined Transformate 10 years ago. I think it was number 3 in sales and business development at the time. I definitely had the innovative spirit which was required. I built the sales team up to, I think it was 100 by the time Gary Connery had actually joined us. Gary was ex-Relix Payments and he joined at C-level. But basically, I guess I was responsible for scaling the sales team and really trying to drive our results. I was also lucky enough to be part of the fundraise which we had and were successful with, which some of you may be aware of, with AIB and also ING. Transformate are a B2B payments technology. We send and receive business payments for companies around the globe. I guess what we've always prided ourselves on to date is our global regulatory footprint. And on the back of that, I suppose, and Peter has already touched off it, we partnered with AIB, ING, and also our newest relationship with Wells Fargo also. So we can go into detail on those later, but thanks a million, Peter, for the quick intro.
No, Margaret, look, we're delighted to have you here. And you know, in some of the work that we were doing earlier, we were discussing, and I'm just going to click on myself. It may be that some people can't see me at the moment. But I'm back online. You may have just seen me looking at myself on a computer. And one of the things that we were talking about there, Margaret, was in relation to actually the experience of scaling overseas, which we'll come back to, and the fact that a lot of payments companies like you now are basically banks without the banking license because you're regulated across the globe, which will also bring us into an interesting topic to talk around about RegTech. So, Tommy, over to you, an extreme push, please.
Yeah, thanks, Peter, and really thankful to be here today and excited to be involved in the chat. Yeah, extreme push is customer engagement, personalization, and data platform. We've been around about 5 years now. We work across a number of verticals, about 6 or 7 verticals, but we lean in very heavily into the financial services vertical. We have a total of just under 70 people in the organization now, kind of in boots on the ground in 9 countries, and kind of have customers in over 26 countries now. And in a nutshell, what we do is we help banks understand their digital customers and digital journeys, and then help them automate personalized comms to those customers, be it service, be it marketing, be it any sort of transactional types of messaging. And basically, you know, the influence is basically to influence them to do positive actions from a consumer perspective. So we help banks do 3 major things: help them massively in their customer experience, help them kind of reduce cost, be it capital cost or a resource cost, and then lastly, we help them identify cross-selling opportunities and upselling opportunities into those personalized segments that we've identified across the platform. And we do it in a number of countries around the world, and we work with both large traditional banks, both in Ireland and abroad, in Europe and further afield, and then we also work with the neobanks and the challenger banks and trading companies as well. So we've kind of a very mixed customer base in the financial services, which is great because you can get a flavour of what they're all doing. We're also a Magic Quadrant company as well. So Gartner bring out a global Magic Quadrant company every year, and we're in the centre of that this year, which is good for an Irish company, you know. So thanks.
That's brilliant. And actually, because you mentioned Irish company, and we were, and given the situation we're in right now with COVID-19 and the disruption of business, although we've all promised each other on this call that we're not going to jump into a COVID corona discussion around, disruption and what you can do to fix that, because a way bigger topic and not what we're here for. I think that we will probably end up having a wee bit of a discussion about what fintechs can do more in this area as well, especially given the government's announcement last night of some greater support. So if you don't mind, everybody, for the next little bit of this segment, I'm going to just jump into a short presentation. And although you can probably screenshot some of these images, don't worry about trying to do that because I will be making this presentation and a little bit more of it all available to all those that have registered to attend today, or at least all the participants, and we're just under 100 now. So you will get this material, and also to those that came to the event we did with Modular on the 3rd of March. There's some additional material from that in terms of e-commerce numbers that I'm also going to put into a presentation because I've been asked for that material on a number of occasions. So if you bear with me, and forgive me when I'm talking to you, if you can still see me after I share the screen, I will be looking at in one direction, which will be at some slides. So I'm hoping right now that you can see the presentation there. Yes. I hope that is all working for everyone. So just forgive me here as I click the magic button to make this go into the right mode. Right, so here we are. In terms of what we did with the survey, and some of you have seen this before, we're tracking around about 350 companies in Ireland that would either tell us that they are, or we have sort of identified they probably could be financial technology. And I want to state something that we always state, whether it's myself, Dave, Peter, or Alex, or anyone else involved with Fintech Ireland, is that we don't own the fintech ecosystem or the definition. It's a broad church, and there's lots of data out there from great organisations like IDA Ireland, which has an international map. Peter O'Halloran is actually working on an international fintech map, and we're going to be releasing that in this series of webinars. Also, the great work of Enterprise Ireland, and also the Fintech 50. I'm a panel member of the Fintech 50. But we also had some information released here in Ireland recently. In addition to that, there's a number of other organisations that put out fintech maps. But I think one thing that we all agree on is that there's probably around 240 to 250 Indigenous Irish fintechs in Ireland. And I think when you add in the international dimension from everything I see, we're probably topping up around 400. But as I said, look, it's a broad church from the disruptors in financial technology that really moved into the scene since 2012 onwards, plus the banks that say they are fintech, and those that follow the US banks. Like, you'll be aware that Brian Moynihan of Bank of America has said, look, Bank of America has always been fintech, so it's not really us against the fintech. So we have 175 completions of the Fintech Ireland survey. I say 175 companies. I'm actually just going to modify that. It's probably 170 because there's been a few duplicate surveys I noticed come in. So one or two people from the same company on very minor occasions submitted the survey. But in any event, we have 175 opinions of fintech executives that work in Ireland, either international or they are Indigenous. And we're going to release more data about that survey in an anonymous fashion in one of these fintech series as well. We've got a lot of subscribers, so everybody who came along to this event, at least up until yesterday that registered, came from that database. If you're not on the database, please do subscribe. We don't spam. We only send things out about the events, and going forward now, we'll do a few more newsletters with information. Lots of members of the Fintech Ireland LinkedIn group, and you're more than welcome to join that as well. We have a lot of followers on Fintech Ireland, the Twitter handle, and there's about 13,000 other followers when we look at all the Twitter handles that we have. So the web visits, I have 150,000 there. I was looking at it again last night. It's anywhere between 140, depending on one stats package, and 165, depending upon another stats package that I use. So I've just gone in the middle. And as folk who have been to our events know that we've done lots of presentations. I think it's more than 75 to date now. And those international audiences, when we speak at large events where there's 2,000 or 3,000 people at them, has given us great courage. And the reason why Irish FinTech is so important right now is given the all the work that we're currently doing in Irish financial services. So I'm not going to run through these details and these numbers in any great extent, but I would always point out that Ireland is the 4th largest exporter of financial services in the European Union. So that's a pretty good ranking for a small country. We have 250 of the world's largest financial services players here. And the IFSC in the funds administration area, so the companies that work in this like Funds Access and Funds Rec, and I will be calling out companies' names as we go through, 4.9 trillion of assets under administration in Ireland, and we employ and God willing, through Corona as well, we employ 45,000 people in international financial services, and 7,000 of those work in FinTech. So I'm just going to switch my presentations here, and I'm going to take you into the map. Don't worry about that slide just there at the moment. Actually, before I do that, what I might just do is I will take you to this map here. And I do this as an explainer. Hopefully you can all see that. I'm just checking over my shoulder to check the test computer, and you can. So with the map, we wanted to put Indigenous Irish FinTech on the map. Now, it does mean in some occasions, if you're an international FinTech company and you've recently set up operations in Ireland, you may not be on the map, notwithstanding you've done the survey. The more and more those companies ingrain themselves into Ireland, we will think about changing the map. But what we wanted to do is give other depictions, other graphs, and to showcase these companies. So as I mentioned, Peter O'Halloran is doing a separate FinTech Ireland international map. This one you're looking at here is actually around the number of electronic money firms and payment services firms authorised in Ireland. Now, what you can sort of see there, because we've tracked these since 2009, and these figures all come from the Central Bank of Ireland's website, is that payment services, back in the old days of 2009, and it almost seems like a century ago, we had those that pioneered the payment services here in Ireland from 2009 to 2011, including AIP Merchant Services, Western Union, Exco out there in Kerry, Currency Fair Fire, Margaret Clancy's TransferMate. 2013 and 2015 and 2017, we had a few more join, but it was really around the drive of Payment Services Directive number 2 and also, of course, Brexit that began to show Ireland in a different light in terms of a payments destination, and more companies began to set up here. So that's why in 2018 you'll see that Chase Payment Tech established, and so too did Google Pay. 2019, I don't know if you can see my mouse moving over 2019. This is what some people refer to as the Brexit play. So Small World, AFEX, the Bureau, Remitly, JP Morgan, and Express Money all obtain fully authorised payment services licenses. Circuit and CRF here at the bottom, they are account information services providers. So although they don't get authorised as a PSD, they are registered. And just joining them in the last few weeks is FI Include, or Verge Capital, but known as FinClude. So I expect we're going to see more in 2020, and especially I think we're going to see more account information services providers join this map, and those that originate in Ireland will also be on the FinTech Ireland map. If I quickly turn over to the e-money side, you'll see 2015 EML payments, and those of you that know the industry will say, well, hang on, EML only came into Ireland recently, but don't forget they acquired Perfect Card, or a substantive portion of Perfect Card. Now, the central bank's register now reflects EML as the e-money firm over Perfect Card. So I've just put EML's logo there for 2015. Facebook in 2017. We had Saldo, Optal, and Optal I have a relationship with, as I do with TransferMate, for disclosures of any interest that I share. I'm on the board of Optal and the board of TransferMate. PaySafe also joined as a e-money firm. So did prepaid financial services, and they've been in the news recently given their acquisition by EML. PaySafe Card, Foreign Currency Direct, Stripe, Coinbase, One for All, Payoneer, and of course there's a few other e-money firms going through. So Ireland really has done very well in terms of those authorisations. Now, here I'm jumping into the, I hope it is, and I'll make it a little bit larger for you. This is, excuse me for a moment, trying to make it larger for you. That's where we are. So this is the 2020 map. Now, first of all, there's probably about 6 or 7 companies that I still need to add to this map. And I think if you could see anything down the side, I'm not sure whether you can, I've actually listed up some of the changes, but if you can't see those, don't worry, I'll talk you through. But essentially, the areas that have exploded, as we always predicted, was payments has grown. So that area which starts with Actis Mobile and ends with WorldNet. We're up by at least 10 more firms in that area under payments. And that was the biggest portion of the map, about 44 previously. So it's well over 55 now, payments companies in Ireland. Credit and lending has also exploded. And what I may do is just sort of read out what some of these firms are. So if we look at, if we look over at the payments sector, in terms of payments, where we've had some some of these new entrants would include, if you give a moment, patient payments are on the map. You'll see them in the third column under payments at the bottom. You'll also probably see some new firms, or you might think they're new, but actually they're updates of logos. And I've just seen that we've made a little bit of a cock up here, and I apologise just in relation to Big E. I've got Big E, which is a new entrant to payments, blocking Barracuda, which that shouldn't be the case, and I'll fix that after this presentation. What we did with payments, and the reason that's happened, is that in the previous edition, we had currency and FX as a separate category. But talking to the currency and FX firms, became very clear that anybody doing currency and FX online was also doing the remittance thereafter. So ergo, we're into payments. Hence, that area's exploded. It hasn't just grown because of the currency FX moving into it. It's grown incrementally because, or actually not even incrementally, by an explosion because of the number of payments firms setting up here in Ireland. So also in there is AirPOS, so you're very much welcome to the map. Updated a few logos like TollerPay, and there's been a number of others in there as well. And as I look at a few there, let me just pick 1 or 2 more out if I can. Yes, My Money Jar is there on the third column under payments as well. Now, also, I said we've had an explosion in credit and lending. And in terms of credit and lending, the new entrants there would include Uber, also Property Bridges, also Premium Cash Solutions, also Loan It, also Luna Connect, and you can see them under credit and lending. And you'll recognise the other names, and there's been a few changes of logos as well. Now, where else have we seen an explosion? Well, actually, RegTech. And if you look across to RegTech, as I look at it, it's at the right of my screen. What you'll see there is a little bit of a space left because there were 2 or 3 RegTechs I just did not get the opportunity to include in this edition, but you will be in the edition which goes live. So Cora Point, I apologise to you publicly. I just couldn't get the logo up there. For some reason, we had a technical issue, and it will be in the edition which we publish after this event. But what you will see there are a number of RegTechs in this space. This was around about 18% of the map previously. It's probably now around about 23%, a bit higher than that of the map. So new entrants include Redflare, RegTech company Redflare, also KX Systems, which is pointing its technology to anti-money laundering compliance. And as I said, there'll be a few more coming in there as well. On the last column, the 4th column, you'll see Think, Evolve and Solve. Think, Evolve, Solve, which is another RegTech that's in there. Accounting at the top there, if I just point that out to you, we've had some new entrants, including, let me just have a think of this, because I had to cut the name out. Cashbook is in there. Sometimes when the logo came in, it had the logo and then the name of the firm was in white, and so you're not going to see white on a white background. Sorry, and just one other one I'm trying to think of. And Sort My Books, thanks for that. Yes, Sort My Books is also joined, and you'll see a few others on the map. Insurance has increased if you just go across. So we talk about InsurTech in Ireland. So welcome to people like Describe Data. Welcome to Cyber Plus. Majesco, that's a new logo for an existing company. Welcome to My Cyber Risk. Welcome to PickRate, welcome to Compared.ie as well. So last time we spoke about InsurTech, we were saying that it was a bit challenging to find those InsurTechs, but obviously the work that the folk at InsurTech Ireland are doing, and they bring these companies to our attention, is working really well. Savings and investment, not a whole lot of change there. We could move a few people around. Blockchain's been joined in the blockchain and crypto space, been joined by NAFASI. And then the other thing I'll just quickly talk about before we jump into the discussions with Mags and Tommy is in the area of others at the bottom of the map. Now, at the bottom of the map there, others, we had to expand that box. Those who know the 2019 map will be cognizant at the 2019 map at a small box for others. Now, why is that box increased? Well, essentially, there's a number of data analytic firms that are out there that are pointing their technology at financial services. And in discussions with them, some say, look, we feel we're RegTech, but we offer a wider service, and people don't use our service to demonstrate compliance. We're part of the things that they do, which will help overall demonstrate compliance, but we're more data analytics. And so in that area, you'll see a number of firms that have joined the others category. And they would include firms such as Engage Hub. You've also got GeoWox. Welcome to Amidas, a payroll business. Welcome to Concept Dairy as well. Welcome to Portdesk. Welcome to James Donations. Lizzie and the team, they were great in giving us a hand with an event not so long ago. Tommy's Extreme Push is in there as well. And actually, Zarian had asked, could they move from RegTech down to others as well? So the other squeeze that this movement led to on the map was the area of platforms. So in platforms, Aspen Grove has joined. Clever Cards, so welcome to the team at Clever Cards, the map. Case Metrics is also on the map. Swoop Funding is on the map, and there's a number of others there as well. So I think we're going to see more platforms, as that's pretty much is what's happening a lot in some of the technology companies now pointing themselves at fintech. Just looking across in case I missed anything. I think what I'll do at the moment is I will end the share screen. I think the time at the moment now is 13:30. There's probably not a lot more to say about the map at the moment, other than, again, we'll release map to everybody after this presentation. And look, sorry, I didn't call out FinOps, which I should have done. In relation to FinOps, listen, we also welcome Payslip, Phonovation as well. They're two new entrants into FinOps. And just as I'm looking at it here, I didn't call out Chasing Returns. It's a new logo there under funds and trading. And I think I've covered most of the new entrants that you'll all get a blog about you. Also, if you are a new entrant in one of these areas, an idea we have, and so I'd love to hear from you. You email me at hello@Fintech Ireland. Is we'd like to do one of our webinars on RegTech. So we'd like to get a few of you RegTechs out there, particularly those that have joined the map recently. Also, a couple of those that have been on the map for a while, and we'll do a RegTech seminar as well, because separately we have a. We also have, if I can quickly show it to you, in the works, if you bear with me, a RegTech Island map. And so, although that's not in full screen, it will be now, those in the RegTech area of the map that you just saw for Fintech Island will now go onto this RegTech Island map as well. And on this map will not only be local regulatory technology firms, but also international RegTech firms as well. So you'll see a fresh edition of that as well. Now, what I might just do here is, as we're cutting through the presentation, I'll just stop on a slide here somewhere, or I'll just stop the screen. I'll stop the share screen and I'll come back to us.